It was one of the most devastating wildfires in the history of Southern California. We're talking about the Station Fire. You remember this? It erupted in the Angeles National Forest on August 26, 2009. High winds, high temperatures combined for perfectly dangerous Santa Ana condition. The Station Fire killed 2 firefighters. It torched more than 160,000 acres, destroyed over 5 dozen homes. On Tuesday, a congressional panel will continue, or at least here in Southern California, begin its investigation into firefighting procedures, the techniques they used, including the response during the critical first day. That panel is going to be headed by Congressman Adam Schiff, who represents the whole area that's been ravaged by the Station Fire. He joins us now to talk about this investigation. I said continue, and then I said maybe you're actually beginning the hearings. This is the first time you're going to be taking testimony here in Southern California. What is it that you hope to find out about this frustrating fire?
Well, we're going to examine the early hours of the fire. Those are the most critical, because if you can put down a fire early on, you can prevent it from getting away and creating the kind of devastation we saw in the Station Fire. There have been a number of serious issues raised, Jeff, about some of the Forestry Service policies. They have a policy, for example, against doing nighttime flights, so they don't have the equipment or the training to do them themselves and have to rely on others to do it. There have been significant questions raised as recently as within the last 24 hours by an independent panel hired by the Forest Service that is concerned that a Forest Service policy of using their own personnel and own equipment first meant that state and local resources, which were more readily available, aircraft that could have been called in quicker, were not utilized, and that may have had
that's a big deal. That's a big point of this. There are a lot of frustrated homeowners. There are firefighters from other agencies who were saying aircraft, heavy aircraft, just flat out was not called in the morning of the second day of the fire like it should have been.
Well, in fact, there was aircraft called in for 7 a.m., but it didn't arrive till 9 a.m. And part of the reason it didn't arrive at that hour was there wasn't the right call for the right equipment, and it didn't get processed in a way that could make that early attack possible. Between 7 and 9, that fire grew considerably. And, you know, we'll never know for sure, Jeff, what would have happened. Would we have been able to put it down quicker? But as a result, you know, we lost 2 firefighters' lives.
Well, and because of the seriousness of that, we have to also bring up the fact that the LA Times, through a Freedom of Information request, requested dispatch recordings. There were recordings that were either concealed or withheld. They were not turned over. They weren't even turned over to a federal review committee investigating this very issue. Doesn't that smack of a cover-up to you?
Well, in fact, I got a call from the Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, on this. Basically, within 24 hours of his finding out about these recordings, he has asked for an Inspector General investigation. That is ongoing. We have asked, myself and other members, for a GAO investigation of the early decision-making of the fire. That has now been approved. That will commence shortly as well.
All right, you've said GAO and Inspector General, you
yes.
said? Why don't you just very quickly tell us what the difference is, because the Congress, while you do have the power of subpoena, you're not out to punish anybody.
No, that's exactly right. And in the 2 investigations, one by the AG, that's an internal Department of Agriculture investigation. They want to find out why weren't these recordings disclosed. The GAO is the investigative arm of Congress. Mm-hmm. We want a very thorough, thoughtful investigation done about were firefighting policies, Forest Service policies, counterproductive. Was there faulty decision-making? Was there underestimation of the significance of the fire early on? Did they think they'd put it down when they hadn't? Are there problems in the utilization of equipment and how it's ordered and how quickly it can be deployed? Are there issues about mandatory crew rest? All of these things we're going to try to explore on Tuesday in our hearing at the Ninth Circuit building.
Yeah.
And we hope these parallel investigations will as well.
Congressman, it sounds like a good effort in the long haul, but it also sounds like for the short term, for all the people who lost their homes, they're just looking at this, I've got to imagine, and they're thinking, how so does government move? Who's going to actually lay some blame here? Who's going to find out why my home was lost? Why these 2 firefighters were killed? Why, why this fire spread when it didn't? Why when it didn't have to? And why these recordings, seemingly were withheld in order to have somebody not hear something?
Jeff, you're absolutely right. There are folks that have been calling for answers for a very long time. And I think on the positive side, we are going to get those answers. And yes, well, we're going to try. We're going to try to get some of those answers on Tuesday.
All right.
But absolutely. I mean, frankly, the gravest loss was the loss of those 2 lives.
Of course,
and if there hadn't been a home destroyed or any other property damage, that alone would more than warrant our giving this very serious
I'm
investigation.
out of time, but can the public come to this hearing?
Absolutely. Open the public, 9 o'clock, Pasadena Court of Appeals.
Okay, Pasadena Court of Appeals building. It's on Grand Avenue in Pasadena, just west of Old Town Pasadena. So look it up. We'll try to put it on our website.
9 o'clock Tuesday.
Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right.